Check. 1, 2, 3.
The D-Brief. This is the D-Brief.
Your guide to Detroit.
Your guide to Detroit's
arts and entertainment scene.
This is the D-Brief.
Welcome to the debrief for the week of March 19th, 2018. I am your co-host. My name is Seth Ressler.
And I am Mike Jeter.
And I'm Becky Scarcello.
Oh, we got a good show in store today, guys.
Yes, sir.
We got a lot of interesting things going on. There's a lot of talk about the Regional Transit Authority, right? I mean, this has actually been...
It's big news.
It is in the news because, we're all sitting here asking, did we not get the Amazon headquarters here in Detroit because we have bad roads and potholes and it's not easy to get around.
No public transportation.
Right. And so that's a big
We're supposed
question.
to be using hoverboards at this point, so...
That's what I would have thought, but it's not happening.
So it wouldn't matter what the roads look like.
I heard Mogo's going to have them in the budget for next year.
Nice.
No, but public transportation is a big deal. So we actually have a public transportation advocate coming in. This is a guy who, this is not his day job. This is not what he does for a living full time.
Labor of love.
It is a labor of love. His name is David Gifford, and he's just an expert in public transportation. So we'll talk to him about all that. Also, Nain Rouge.
That's coming up.
Yeah, we've talked about this before on the podcast.
Marche du Nain Rogue.
Yes, it is coming up. We have the producer, Francis Grunow. I think that's how you pronounce it.
I think you're right.
Right. Yeah. Rhymes with Bruno Mars. That's how I have to remember it.
Good way to remember.
Francis Grunow, we're going to talk to him. Also, Barry Cogan. He is the chair of the collections committee at the Ford Piquette Avenue Plant Museum. Have you been there?
Yeah, we take tour groups there, actually.
You do?
Private tour groups.
Cool.
Yeah,
For feet on the street. Your tour group.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. They have a brand new collection there. You probably already
I heard
know
about
this.
that. Yeah, it's pretty killer stuff.
Yeah, the Porter collection is there. So we'll find out what that's all about. Plus, of course, we've got all the concerts, comedy, movies, plays, and more that are going on in the Detroit area. Stick around for all that. And one other thing I want to mention, if you go to our website, thedebriefdetroit.com, while you're there, sign up for our email list, and we will email you the list of things that we talk about every week so that you can keep in the know of everything that's going on. So go check it out.
This is the D-Brief.
About last week.
All right, before we get into what's going on this week, let's take a look back at what happened last week. What'd you all do? You go first, Mr. Mike there, Mr. Comedian over there.
I'll do that. Last Friday, I had the pleasure of performing with movie legend, Ron Jeremy.
Wait.
He's in a specific genre of movies.
You had the pleasure of performing with him?
Yes. Comedy.
This is
Comedy.
a family show.
Yes, it is. That's what I meant. I'm performing comedy because I'm a comedian.
So wait a minute. So Ron Jeremy, the adult film star.
Yes.
That's what he's known for.
Yes.
Was on stage telling jokes.
Yes. He has reimagined, I guess would be the word, his career. Mm-hmm. And now he's going across the country telling jokes to throngs of people. It was packed in there. We were at the Token Lounge, legendary Token Lounge in Livonia, Michigan. And there were 7 other comics and Ron, packed out room, incredible energy. He actually went first and did 20 minutes worth of jokes. They were street jokes, but...
So what does that mean for people who don't know what street jokes are?
Street jokes are like just common everyday jokes that you may have heard being passed for year after year. It's the same thing.
Okay,
but,
man on the street.
Right, exactly.
Slice of life.
Yo, mama's so fat.
Right, exactly.
So they were not jokes about his career or.
Yeah, what he did. The twist was he put his. He talked about his career in the joke, but it was still a street joke.
What?
So he did okay.
All right.
He recognizes that he's not a comedian because he went first and he was actually the headliner of the show. And I went a couple of comedians after him, and it was good that he went first because I would have buried him because that's how great I am.
So you can now say, you can put this on your resume, that Ron Jeremy opened for you.
Yes. Becky, what did you do this week?
Most people open for Ron Jeremy, but Ron Jeremy.
Yes.
All right, Becky.
I don't even think I can top that. That is a hard act to follow.
It is.
But I did do an unusual activity of a different nature. So a while back you had on the podcast the Detroit History Club event that was
Yes.
coming up. The What Had Happened Was.
Bailey came on, right?
Yes, and she was talking about. So I actually went to that event. It happened on St. Patrick's Day in Hamtramck at Bank Suey. It was really unusual. There were several storytellers telling about a slice of Detroit history of some sort, a wide range from sports to Catholic churches to architecture to local legends. So people came up and told their stories. And while they were doing that, they had an artist drawing out what they were saying in sort of a caricature format. So this was pretty cool
Yeah,
to
that's
see,
chill.
you know?
Right.
And then at the end of the night, they gave away raffle tickets, pulled your number, and as soon as your number got pulled, you got to go choose one of those drawings to take home with you.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so I got, there was a story about Berry Gordy. So I have an awesome little caricature of Berry Gordy on the piano. So,
That's
sweet.
awesome.
yeah, and they had like Stroh's beer and Faygo Pop and popcorn. It was just kind of like a cool, chill night of something different.
We got to get a photo of that, get it up on the Instagram
Yeah.
account. Yeah.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I went to a restaurant I hadn't been to before, which has been around for a while, I think. Vincetta Garage over
Oh,
on
yeah.
Woodward.
That's close to my stomping grounds.
Yeah, that's what
One of my
Berkeley?
spots.
Berkeley, yeah. On Woodward?
We'd stopped in there before, and there was a wait, and so we just weren't in the mood.
There's always a wait.
Right.
Always.
And we went back this time, and finally we're like, all right, we'll see what
Stick
the
it
wait
out.
is all about. First of all, the beer selection is fantastic,
Top notch.
and then and it's pub food, but it is high end pub food, and
Tasty.
The macaroni and cheese was so good. This does not happen very often. I could not finish my meal.
Oh, yeah. My husband loves that mac and cheese.
And you can see,
Yeah.
that's rare.
Did you take home the leftovers?
I did, and it was good the next day too. Those onion rings are massive.
Yeah.
And then the ice cream had Pop Rocks, like
and
homemade
plus
Pop
the
Rocks in it.
decor is so neat.
Yeah. Yes. No. So that's a cool place. So I had a lot of fun. So hey, we had a good week.
Yeah, we did.
We did.
We rock.
All right. Coming up in just a few minutes, we're going to talk about the Porter collection, the new collection of cars that's over at the Ford Piquette Avenue plant.
Welcome to the D.
Funny stuff.
All right, Mike. What's going on in the comedy clubs?
All right. At Thursday at Sellerman's, comedian Mark Racine, he'll be there. You may have seen him on Conan. He's also written for the MTV Movie Awards, or Video Awards, I'm sorry. So go check him out at Sellerman's on Friday, March 23rd, at Big Tommy's Comedy Club in Novi. Chili Chalice, he'll be
Yeah.
there Friday and Saturday.
He's a local now. He wasn't always, but he used to write for the Tonight Show.
For the Tonight Show
Jay
for
Leno.
a couple 3 or 4 years. So go check him out at Big Tommy's in Novi. At the Soundboard at Motor City Casino, Cedric the Entertainer, he'll be there, but it's for a private event.
So why you just you just a tease?
Yes, because I'll be there. So there it is.
You know what I finally
I
saw
won't.
like a week and a half ago?
What's that?
Was the Kings of Comedy. I had never seen it.
What?
Yeah, I finally saw it.
Who was the best?
Who was the best? I think Steve Harvey. I don't know. Who was your
Really?
favorite?
Really?
Yeah.
Mine was Bernie.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you? Did you?
I've never seen it.
Oh.
So
Gotta see
I know.
it. Check it
yeah.
out. Then we can talk about it.
Okay,
Figure out
good.
who your best is.
Okay.
Saturday, March 23rd or 24th. I don't know why I'm getting these dates mixed up. Saturday, March 24th at the Royal Oak Music Theater. Comedians Shayna Firm and Tracy T. They're bringing back their wildly popular The Pump and Dump Tour. They're talking about being mommies and stuff.
Yep.
It's pretty popular because this is their 6th national tour.
Wow.
Or national
That's a good
tour.
run. Wow.
I don't think I would get the jokes.
You might not.
You might not. So, ladies, you have your Saturday fill. Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle this weekend. Tammy Pescatelli, recently seen on her Netflix special Finding the Funny. She'll be there all weekend at the Ann Arbor Comedy Showcase. Ben Creed, he's been on every network. So you'll see him go, oh, yeah, that's Ben Creed. Amazing. Punchline Comedy Lounge in Southfield, Benji Brown and friends. They'll be there Thursday through Sunday. And at the Holly Hotel, Adam Deggy, he'll be there with Tony Adamschick.
All right, coming up in just a few minutes, we'll take a look at the movies that are going to be in theaters.
The D-Brief.
Your guide to Detroit's arts and entertainment scene.
All right, Becky, sounds like you've been to this place. Mike, I guess you haven't. You haven't been to the Ford Piquette Avenue Plant Museum.
No, I have not.
so this museum is in the Ford plant. It was Henry Ford's first Ford plant ever. When he was building the cars, right? Am I
right? Correct. And it's in the Milwaukee Junction neighborhood.
Yeah.
Tucked between Midtown and New Center.
And it's been there, not quite 20 years that they reopened
museum?
this. Yeah, as a museum.
I'm not certain on the facts of that, but yeah, that sounds about right.
They were telling me that the building basically is in pretty close to the condition to where it was back when it was a Ford
pretty
plant.
Accurate, yeah.
Yeah, and so I actually headed over there, and the cars in there are pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and some of them are in great shape. They're in
pristine,
restored
yeah.
and look really great. And then they've got some that are not, but they keep it because people still like to see it even in
They've hit potholes and stuff like
yes,
that.
Exactly.
that.
They have 3 wheels now.
Yeah.
So.
But the exciting thing is that they've got a new collection. Came in at the end of last year. It's called the Porter Collection. And so if you haven't been there in a while, it's a good opportunity to go back. I had the opportunity to sit down with the chair of the collections committee over at the Ford Piquette Avenue Plant. And that's Barry Cogan. And the first thing I asked him was, what is this plant all about?
The museum is the first factory built and owned by Ford Motor Company. It was built in 1904. Their first factory was in a rented building on Mack Avenue in Detroit, and they produced their first car there, a 1903 Model A. And before they were halfway through the model year, they realized that they needed more space. So in April of 1904, they broke ground on this site right here, and they began moving into the building by the end of 1904, in December 1904.
Yeah, so even though we're going to be talking about public transportation a little bit later, this is where the cars started.
Where it all began.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, birthplace of the Model T and all that. So I asked him, look, back in the day, if I had come into this plant, what would I have seen? What happened here?
In the early days, they were building other models of the car. The Model A, as I said, was built at the Mack Avenue plant, but they built the Model B, C, F, K, N, R, S, and then the first 12,000 Model Ts in this building. And when I say that they built the cars here, what I mean is they assembled them here. They bought all of the parts for the cars from outside suppliers. Those parts were delivered here, and then they assembled the cars in this building.
I didn't know that there were that many different ones. I thought it was just like the Model T.
The most
Yeah,
famous.
right.
Yeah, they went all through the alphabet.
Yeah.
When you sit there saying that, I'm thinking, I'd like to buy a vowel.
Yes, I know. And it was placed there because, maybe he gets into this later, but because of the rail lines. So the rail line came through and could deliver on all the different pieces.
That makes sense because
Yeah.
they assembled them there. They didn't actually make
Right.
those parts there. They just put them together once they already had them made in other places. Well, like I said, the big deal there is the Porter Collection that's coming in. So I asked him what the Porter Collection is all about.
A recent collection of cars that we have that just came in at the end of November is a collection of what are called the Ford alphabet cars or the Ford letter cars. It's an example of every car that was built in this building. And in fact, it's the only collection of the letter cars in the world that's on display to the public right now.
Are you guys car guys? Are you like aficionados?
I mean, I drive them.
You do?
Yeah,
I
don't get all
appreciate them.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
How often?
Exactly. All the time. What are you talking about? It's Michigan. No one takes a bus. We talk about that already.
Yeah.
I was trying to stump you. I asked Barry, I said, do you have a favorite car in the collection? Here's what he said.
One of the cars that's my favorite is a 1909 Model T. You never know for sure what's hiding in somebody's barn, but all evidence points to the fact that it's the oldest complete surviving Model T in existence. It's number 224. It's an absolute gorgeous restoration of that car.
That's cool, the oldest in existence.
I wish
So-
I had something like that hiding in my garage.
Mike, can you go over and sit in her garage?
Oh, Seth.
Oh,
I'm a Model G, by the way. So
I like what you're modeling there, Model
Yeah,
G.
I know, right?
You notice the clothing that he's wearing today?
I did. And It's very self-promotional.
I'm not a fashion expert, but I'm not so sure that you should wear the Mike Jeter hat on the same day that you wear the Mike Jeter t-shirt.
I think it's important. I want people to understand where they can go and peek me out. Get back to the story, Seth.
Even Puff Daddy, uses an alias.
Back to the interview, Seth.
All right. Last question I asked Barry was what he appreciates most about the plant that he works in. And here's what he said.
It just gives me goosebumps when I'm in this building and I think about the people that have been in this building. Henry Ford, of course, and his various associates. I have no doubt that probably Thomas Edison visited this building. The Dodge brothers certainly were in this building because they were the major supplier to Henry Ford in the early days until 1914 when they began building their own car. The Holley brothers, builders of carburetors, they were certainly in this building. So when I walk across the creaky wooden floors in the building, it just gives you goosebumps to think of the history and the people that have been in the building.
See, Mike, you got to go over there just so that you can be added to the list of luminaries whose presence has been.
Can you guys climb into the vehicles? Or you're not allowed to?
No,
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I would be so interested in seeing if I could fit in a Model T.
I would
or
too.
A or B or C or J.
You can go to Greenfield Village and ride
That's true.
in the Model Ts. So check it out there.
I would do that.
Yeah.
So it's exciting. Go check out the Porter collection there. Now, that's not the only reason that Ford is in the news.
It's kind of timely that he was saying about the plant being Ford outgrowing it, because I think they're kind of going through that phase again. So it was just kind of breaking news today that Ford is looking at renovating the Michigan Central Station.
That's a big deal.
That's a huge
crazy.
deal. I mean, that's been sitting vacant for 30 years.
Yep.
Various states of, disrepair and abandonment.
Have you been inside it?
No.
You have.
I have. I think I was on one of the last few trains to go there.
Really?
Yeah, because I took a train from Cornell to Detroit.
Wow.
So Ithaca, New York to Detroit.
So what, you were maybe 18?
87.
Or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
87. So, and I believe they closed down in 87.
Yeah, 30 years ago.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, I know they've done a couple of special events in there recently.
Yes.
Yeah, and they replaced all the windows, and there's fencing and lighting and such.
People like Eminem did a video there.
He did,
a while ago. So, I mean, people still go in and out of there, Again, ruin porn, but
Duggan made him replace all the windows because he hated it being this.
It was requirement.
Ruin porn.
Yeah.
And they what was it? Superman versus Batman, that they filmed a scene there, and they had to wait until after they filmed that scene,
right.
before they could replace the windows.
And they filmed Transformers, and one of the Transformers movies they filmed there. I think it was the first one, actually. And they got all their windows from Wallside.
Yeah.
I'm sure. But it makes sense because Ford just bought that old pantyhose factory in Corktown to house, I think it's like 200-some employees to work on electric and driverless cars.
So Ford's just buying up all our buildings.
Yeah. Well, maybe this would be,
Well, they started in this city, and now they're really coming back into the city. So that's cool.
Good stuff.
Anyway, if you want to see where they started, you can go check out the Ford Piquette Avenue Plant Museum. You can find all the details at Ford Piquette, Piquette Avenue Plant.org. Coming up in just a few minutes, we'll talk about some of the things that are going on in the food scene here in Detroit.
Action. This is the Deep Brief.
On the screen.
Mike, what's going on in the movie theaters?
Already at the Main Art Theater in Royal Oak, Michigan. Thoroughbreds, Loveless, A Fantastic Woman, Phantom Thread, Death of Stalin, which is a satire. Little comedy satire.
Really? That sounds very dramatic.
Yeah. Sounds cool. Flower. And the Friday and Saturday midnight show is Doom.
I've never seen this.
David Bowie, I have. It's been a while. But
the David Bowie movie. Yeah. Oh, right.
Is Patrick Stewart in this? Why do I think that?
It's been a while since I've seen it.
Is there a bald guy walking around saying engage?
No.
Oh, must be something else then.
So see, now we have to go see this. Friday or Saturday midnight.
I read the book in high school. I was assigned, I had like a science fiction class, and I had to read it. But so I'd be curious to go see the movie.
Okay. Maple Theater Kitchen in Bluefield, The Shape of Water, 7 Days in Entebbe, Red Sparrow, and The Death of Stalin is also there. At the Redford Theater, just showing Oklahoma. Oklahoma, where the wind goes flying through the... Have a terrible story about Oklahoma. I'll tell you off air, but it's terrible.
What?
Something with a tornado.
I broke up with a girl in middle school. We went on a trip to Washington, D.C., and we broke up right after we saw a play, play Oklahoma, on a boat, on one of those river boats.
Wow.
Yeah, we broke up shortly thereafter.
That was so sad.
So every time I see Oklahoma or hear Oklahoma,
Becky, pass the
It's a shame.
Kleenex.
I know, that's a shame.
You
I
should
can
have
see
like
the
a little-
little tears.
you should have like a little violin playing right now.
Yeah.
At the Senate Theater, Jesus Christ Superstar. Jesus Christ Superstar. You can't say it that way. Cinema Detroit has Black Panther and a fantastic woman. The Henry Ford. Love this movie. 10 Things I Hate About You.
Ah, fun.
Yeah. Based on a Shakespeare.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is a Shakespeare. Yeah, I've never seen it.
Reimagined. Yeah, it's goody.
You should see
It's
it.
good, really? It's
Oh,
good?
it's really good.
Okay.
It's really good. So
right.
check that out. And over the weekend, The Avengers.
Yes.
Infinity War. The second trailer came out, and it's mind blowing.
This looks amazing.
Like all those crazy characters all in one movie.
Exactly.
I gotta tell you, I did not grow up as a comic book geek. The movies have really made me, because the Marvel movies have been so well done, and they've all been leading up to this. I mean, they've been hinting at this. You know, this big plot line with Thanos. You first saw him in the first Avengers movie, like
Oh, so there was all this foreshadowing
like
to this.
25 years
See, I'm
ago.
not-
yeah,
yeah, I'm not tuned in.
Foreshadowing.
Okay, here's the thing. Anytime you see a Marvel movie, stick around.
Yes.
Watch all of the credits.
Yes.
Because at one time they would put little Easter eggs buried into
Treasure
the middle
hunt.
of into the middle of the credits. Well, now they put 2 in there, so you have to watch them both.
You can go onto YouTube and you can
And look
see
that
all
up.
the end credit scenes. But the other thing is that a lot
Oh,
of
you
them,
can?
Yeah.
I wasted all my time
Right,
watching
yes,
it.
you did. You
Oh.
sat through a lot of credits. that you
Seth,
could've
where
just
were you
waited.
2 days ago?
He's such a
Well,
tech.
but the other thing is that the plot of this movie revolves around this gauntlet where you can put these Infinity Stones in it, and a number of the movies that have already come out, the Infinity Stones, we've already seen them
Been in
some
play.
form. Yeah,
Oh,
they were
okay.
in Guardians of the Galaxy. One of them was in Guardians of the Galaxy. One of them was in, like the first Avengers was in. That was what Loki had in his staff, that
Okay.
blue Tesseract thing.
I'm
So
gonna have to study it. I'm gonna have to
it's-
binge.
It is amazing how much they've thought this
That
out
is
and
so
mapped this out in
cool.
advance.
So
yeah, because
cool.
we're at we're
really no
closing
equivalent.
in on 20 films here at this point.
Yeah, I think it's up to 17.
Yeah, I mean,
What
starting with Iron
imagination
Man.
and foresight to
Yeah,
make that.
starting with Iron Man. I believe there are 17 films.
yeah.
So-
I mean, and I watch a lot of stuff at home these days because
Sure.
the home theater system is so good. But when you see that trailer, you're just like, I want to
Gotta see it
sit
on the big screen.
in a theater
Yeah.
and see this. It's pretty amazing. Yeah, it's cool. All right, coming up in just a few, we'll talk about the concerts that are coming to the Detroit area. Stick around.
The D3.
Food and drink.
Guys, every once in a while, we like to check in on what's going on in the Detroit food scene. Becky, I know that this is an area that you're particularly interested in,
Yeah,
right?
I find it interesting that I come on as host, like, let's do some more food.
No, she's always like, all right, so what's going on in the food scene?
Yes, there's some kind of top interesting stories I think you should know about. So the Siren Hotel has come to town. It's the Wurlitzer building there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, really cool building. And Siren is at Wurlitzer was music.
Ah,
Siren.
gotcha.
So it's gorgeous. You got to go look at the photos, and then we'll have to
I'm
take a
checking
field
this out.
trip there.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's beautiful design.
This is a big deal, these hotels coming back into downtown, right?
Yeah, I mean controversial in a way too, but yeah.
Wouldn't you say controversial because...
Well, we need more rooms, definitely,
Yep.
especially around downtown. But then you've got all these people with Airbnbs.
Yeah, there's been some Airbnb controversy going on.
So, these boutique hotels come in and their prices fluctuate like any big city. It's nothing. But for Detroit, that's kind of a new thing. Like, oh, we're having a big event. The prices double for hotel rooms. And recently the city council came out with a law that was punishing Airbnb owners, fining them.
This happened. My girlfriend's sister lives in the Boston Edison neighborhood, and she runs an Airbnb. And, they didn't really tell anybody that this law...
Oh, no,
this
it just
ordinance
came out of
was
nowhere
passed.
and, fines showed up.
So
Did she just get something in the mail?
She got fined $700. And then she went into court or whatever and
They
disputed
reversed it somehow. They
And
kind of...
right. They
yeah.
reversed it, but they haven't repealed the law that passed
Exactly.
it.
So what exactly is the law? Is the issue with the Airbnb? Because I'm not familiar.
Well,
with
we think it's the hotels don't want competition.
The competition. It's-
Okay, so they're not allowing Airbnb
They're
people
not-
to raise their prices
No,
as they do.
they are not allowing you to rent out your room. Period.
Oh,
So they put a law in the book saying no Airbnbs in the city of Detroit.
Except that it doesn't say Airbnb because they couldn't
Well,
say
yes.
that in the language.
But
And the
that's
way
what
it
it
was
meant.
written, it's actually written in such a way that you can't even have a roommate. You know what I mean?
Oh, I didn't realize
That's the
that.
problem with it. And then they sat there and said, "Oh, well, we didn't realize it would have these adverse
These
effects
implications.
on Airbnb." Which, and then you go back and you read the records, it is
They clearly said
it's bull. They were
yeah.
clearly talking about Airbnb,
Yeah.
and
Well,
they
it's the
knew
city
what they were
council
talking about.
then.
So I understand they've refunded most of those fines.
Yeah.
And said, oh, no, it's fine, whatever, you're okay. But like you said, they haven't taken the law
Right.
off the books.
And
so.
here's where it's a problem is that we talk about gentrification. We talk about as these expensive things move in, some people get priced out of their neighborhood, and
Right.
this is a way for people to be able to make ends meet.
Right.
As
Keep their
prices,
home.
right?
Exactly.
And
as the
so
city grows and things,
And
Right.
Airbnbs have been really popular. I mean, I even know people from the suburbs that will go, into the city and just rent it overnight for something special,
I just bought, a house in Oak Park, and we are renovating it with that in mind, that we're going to rent out a room on Airbnb because I've done Airbnb
yeah.
and I love it.
And you're in a great location. For
But
that, yeah.
this is important that we talk about the renaissance of the city, and it's great that these cool new hotels are moving in.
Oh, sure, and they're needed. I mean, you need rooms.
Yeah, it's
but
exciting, but everybody needs to be a part
A
of
part
this.
of it, piece of the pie. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, the Siren Hotel, something unusual about that is there's going to be a bunch of retail and restaurant within there. So when the hotel opened, Populous Coffee and the Candy Bar also open. And then interestingly enough, Kate Williams, the lady of the house, big time popular chef right now.
You've been fangirling about her for a while.
I mean, and she's part of Candy Bar, and she's going to be opening Carl's, which is an upscale diner type of thing. So there'll be all kinds of range of eateries in there.
Cool.
What else should we talk about? Okay, James Beard Award. Remember we mentioned there were 7 Metro Detroit semi-finalists.
This is the Oscars of food,
Of
for
food.
anybody who doesn't know. Like, this is the big award that you want to win
and there were
every
some
year.
really nice places, and chefs. James Regato of Mabel Gray, Thomas Lentz of the Apparatus Room, Selden Standard. I think there were 7 or 8 in total Metro Detroit eateries that got semifinalist award.
Semi-finalist.
But only one has advanced to the finalist stage. Zingerman's in Ann Arbor, the deli.
Yeah, I've never been because there's always a line.
It's crazy.
But
Really?
I've heard nothing but great things
If
for
you love
years.
sandwiches,
for
I
eons.
mean, it's great.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's a small place.
It's fairly small and kind of windy in there,
Right.
and they sell groceries as well. So you can get your $30 jar of imported honey and your amazing
Or
sandwich.
pickle juice.
That's a big deal, though. I mean, good luck to them.
I know. So yeah.
To everybody
exactly.
else, it's an honor just to be nominated.
So there was a bartending legend of Detroit that unfortunately passed away earlier this month. Farouk El-Hajj. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. He spent almost 60 years as a Detroit bartender.
Wow.
In legendary places, Caucus Club, London Chop House, and most recently the Rattlesnake Club. So they're going to be doing a memorial for him this Thursday, March 22nd. Last call for Farouk.
Can you imagine the stories you would have heard over 6
I would-
decades?
Yeah.
See, that's why it should be cool to go to this, and I'm sure his friends will be reciting all of
Be
those,
sharing good
recanting
stories.
those.
You think
Yeah.
they pour out a little liquor?
Yeah, probably.
Once I saw this in the paper, I did recognize him. I've sat at the bar at Rattlesnake Club a few times. I mean, back in the day, that was like kind of the coolest new restaurant. So if you wanted to go for a really nice night out. So, okay, what else? Brew Detroit. This is circles back to something we've talked about. They're going to have pints of pothole season beer. What? No kidding. They're going to sell it for $1 for a pint on April 20th if you can show pothole damage on your car or a receipt for pothole damage that you had repaired.
Wow.
And why do you think it would be on 420?
I have a guess.
I'll tell you. It's brewed with hemp seeds.
Oh.
So, but it's all legal. So
Oh.
Yeah, except I think I'm going to do some more damage to my car.
no. So maybe
Purposely
take.
start. You have a whole month, people, to start.
All right, and this is super exciting. So there's legislation in process to move last call from 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. in downtown Detroit.
Yeah, that's huge.
I know, like
that's a
they
big
have in
deal.
Chicago.
Right, or New York. I mean, that's
Yeah.
You know, you're a big city win.
Yeah,
If
that's
you're
what
making it
adults
there.
do.
Right.
They hang out until 4 in the morning.
Right.
Well,
That's where legends are made.
I can't party till 4.
Well,
Depends on what I'm doing the next day.
bruh.
If we're recording the podcast the next day, I'm not staying out.
That's
till
what
4.
comedians do, because you can't start drinking
just
till
saying.
after your set.
Just saying.
Yeah, so I guess it would be on weekends and holidays. And I like this cool twist. So $10,000 will get any bar the extended license, the extended hours for their liquor license to be able to do this. But 85% of that's going to go to local police departments.
Great idea.
Right? Yeah.
That's a pretty good idea. I'd rather if 85% went to fix the potholes.
That's a good point.
Not going to lie.
Can't do everything. You know.
All right, coming up in just a few, the Marche du Nain Rogue. My French is terrible.
You're getting
Oui, oui.
better.
We're going to find out all about it next.
The D3.
Sports report.
A lot going on in sports, right, Mike?
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. The season's winding down in the NBA. The Pistons, they close out their 4-game road trip. Been on the road, been away because of the NCAAs here in Detroit.
But they got kicked out of their home?
Yeah.
It's like, we ain't got room for you.
Yeah.
More
Scram,
important.
mister.
Bigger fish to fry.
Right. Take your stuff and scram. That's how they said it. They're finishing up in Houston against the Rockets before coming home once again. They'll come home again against the Bulls and the Lakers this week. The Red Wings are back at home because they took off too because of the NCAAs. But they come home for a quick shower, before going on the road to get some poutine up in the Great White North against Toronto and Montreal Canadiens. And then they'll come back home against the Pittsburgh Habs. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, all right.
Michigan State.
Becky and I are just smiling and nodding.
And you're
Yes.
like, yes.
Because you like
I
poutine.
know.
Oh, it's
Poutine.
delicious.
Fries.
Poutine. It's the best.
Carbs in that, I
Food and
think.
drink.
On a sad note, Michigan State Spartans basketball team. In the NCAA finals, they defeated Bucknell in the first round.
Yeah.
That was good. Yay, team. But they lost a heartbreaker in the second round against Syracuse, so they are donezo.
Yeah,
They go home.
There's a lot of depressed people walking around.
Not our producer. Our producer, Jag, he went
He's
to
pretty
Syracuse.
happy.
He's
Yeah,
an
he's
alum.
excited,
Right,
yeah.
and I'm surprised nobody's beat him up yet.
Well, he's such a nice guy.
He is
Yeah.
a nice guy.
Yeah.
He's probably celebrating in his car where they can't hear
Yeah,
him.
he's not quiet about the fact that he's a Syracuse
No,
fan.
I think
No.
his Instagram had like
Right.
85 pictures
Yeah,
of it.
Yeah. So, listeners, please don't hold that against
Don't
us.
stand too close to him.
Don't hold that against us. Michigan Wolverines, though, they're pretty happy. They beat Montana in the first round, and they squeaked by Houston, but on a super dope
Super sweet
last-second
play.
shot, 3-point shot.
That was beautiful.
It was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So it's on to the Sweet 16, and they'll take on Texas A&M this Thursday night in Los Angeles.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. This is former President Obama's pick.
No, former President Obama
Michigan
picked the
State.
Spartans, Michigan
Oh.
State. He hasn't picked one. He's picked the Spartans like 3 times in the last few years.
He picks losers, is what we're saying.
Yeah, thanks, Obama.
Yeah, we already knew that, right?
Wow. Yeah.
All right, in other news, let's talk about the Lions for a little bit. The Lions say goodbye to tight end Eric Ebron. See ya, Eric. But they say hello to LeGarrette Blount. He's won the last 2 Super Bowls this past season with the Philadelphia Eagles and the previous season with the New England Patriots. So he's just in it for the money. So we signed him for 1 year. That's cool. The Detroit Lions cheerleaders, they're having a tryout this Saturday. But you have to be 21 by July 1st to do it.
Oh,
And,
darn. That
yeah.
eliminates me.
Wait,
Yeah,
what are you talking about? You're 21.
Oh, yeah.
In a couple of weeks.
You don't have to be only 21. You can be
yeah.
anything over 21.
Well, it said by July 1st, and her birthday is after that. So,
That's
Right,
true.
you're fine.
Yeah.
so she won't make it. All of the
Wait,
info.
were you a cheerleader ever? And
I was, but
see, you still know your moves. You still got your pom
it
poms
was
in the
middle
closet
school.
somewhere.
Middle
right?
school. And I went to a small Catholic school. Like, all the girls were cheerleaders.
Just drag them out. You're all being cheerleaders
Yeah.
this week. If you want more information, you can go to DetroitLions.com. cheerleaders. Get in on that. Tickets go on sale this Thursday for Bark at the Park. Yay, Detroit Tigers, Bark at the Park. You can get tickets this Thursday for that.
Spoken like a cat fan.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I know. I don't think he's a dog person.
No, I listen, I'm a dog liker, not a dog lover. I'm allergic to dogs.
You don't want to go to a big old game with a bunch of them.
I do not want to go to a game with a bunch. That's a nightmare. That's a nightmare. 2 dates you could choose from. Monday, May 14th against the Cleveland Indians, or Monday, September 17th against the Minnesota Twins. Tickets are $48. That includes one dog ticket, not hot dog, but a ticket for your dog, and one owner ticket, because the dogs aren't just going to go in there on their own.
What if they wanted to?
Well, when dogs are by themselves, they're playing poker. Everyone knows
that's
that.
True. They're not going to baseball.
And the dogs have to be spayed and or neutered, not both at the same time. Okay. That would be crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy. Little Caesars, they're offering up a free 4-slice deep dish pepperoni pizza and a 20-ounce bottle drink of your choice, because a 16 beat a 1 seed.
So, yeah, what was the deal here? Little Caesars said...
Yeah, if a 16 beat a 1 seed, it's improbable.
Like, that would be crazy.
It's never happened before. It'd be crazy. So they offered this crazy deal. And
it came true.
It came true, yeah. University of Maryland, Baltimore County beat Virginia, which was not only the number 1 seed in their bracket, but they were the number 1 overall.
Wow.
So it's a big loss. It's a big loss. And I actually thought, when I saw the headlines, UMBC, I thought it was University of Manitoba, British Columbia. And I'm like, when did they let Canadians into this thing? But
I can see your confusion.
Yeah, but thanks to them, you get pizza on championship night, April 2nd, I believe that is.
I love an underdog story, especially when I get free pizza out of it.
And
why not?
Their mascot name, the Retrievers.
Aww.
So that's a real underdog story, because no one likes retrievers. So also, finally, in sports, the Detroit Chess Club, they came home with trophies and medals and championships last week in the Midwest Regional Chess Championships in Cincy, winning the junior high and high school championships, beating
kids.
9 other states.
These are kids.
So congratulations, young people from Detroit, Michigan. This is awesome.
That's great.
That's awesome. Congratulations. Hey, in just a few minutes, we'll take a look at the concerts that are happening in town.
Debrief.
Want more? Text the word Detroit to the number 444-999.
Hey, Becky, for Christmas, will you get me some Mike Jeter gear?
Oh, yeah. I have so many ideas. Yeah.
That's what I want in my
a whole
stocking.
ensemble.
I want the whole collection.
You know what I'm going to get you? I'm going to get you Babbel so you can learn how to speak French.
I need it.
You're so sassy.
Especially because of what's coming up. You've got the big Marche du Nain Rogue.
Ooh, bravo.
I'm doing
Hey, you sound,
better.
yeah, it's like you're from Paris.
Right, yeah.
Texas, Paris, Texas.
Paris, Texas.
Real authentic.
Yes.
I didn't know about this until I came to the Detroit area, the Nain Rouge. This is the big legend here.
Local
right?
legend, yep.
Yeah.
Little red
It's
guy.
like a little red devil or something.
With
the
horns.
dwarf, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Shows up before all the bad stuff happens around here.
He is foreboding, yeah. If you see him, something's going to go down.
You ever seen him?
I'm not telling.
Uh-oh. Did you see him before we started the podcast episode tonight?
Well,
You might want to let us know.
He was like, "Hey, Becky, how you doing?"
right. He's very
Becky was
charming.
like, "Hi,
Yeah.
Nain Rouge.
That's the Lucky Charms cereal.
Stuff's about to happen." Or something. I don't know how they talk.
Anyway, they've got a big parade around him. It's happening this Sunday, March 25th at noon. Here's what happens. Everybody gathers at the corner of Cass and 2nd. They hang out for an hour. There's a lot of artists. You're supposed to make your own costume and show up.
It's sort of a Mardi Gras-ish parade.
Yeah. Have you done it before? Have you been?
No, I keep wanting to go every year, and something always happens. So hopefully I'll be there Sunday.
And then you march over to the Masonic Temple. So I actually had an opportunity to sit down this week with Francis Grunow, who is the producer of the Marche du Nain Rogue.
Ooh la la.
Ooh la la. And I asked him about it. I said, look, what is the Nain Rouge? Here's what he told me.
The Nain Rouge is Detroit's original harbinger of doom. It's a malevolent or mischievous spirit. Some people think he's misunderstood. I have no opinion officially on the matter other than he appears during our event, and we use that as a means to have a good time and celebrate spring and the city's rebirth.
Some people just think he's misunderstood, Mike.
Yeah, it sounds a lot like former Mayor Kwame Kilpatrick.
Just misunderstood.
Just misunderstood, you know.
I think I'd take debate with
A harbinger of doom or whatever. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Rouge lives matter, right? I mean,
That's
it's,
right.
it's like that.
Yeah.
It's just misunderstood. All right. Well, I wanted him to explain to me in full detail the legend of the Nain Rouge. And he did. Here's what he said.
The Nain Rouge is Detroit's oldest legend, and it happened right at the founding of the city. So Antoine de la Motte Cadillac, this French guy who made up part of his name, who many people think wasn't a great guy. He had some character flaws, apparently. On his way here, after being sent from France, from the court, to found, a new place, stopped in Quebec before it was Canada today, and it was partying out in the evening, and a fortune teller came up to him. What she said was, regard the Nain Rouge. You'll find a great place, but you have to watch out for this thing, this Nain Rouge, which just means red dwarf. If you do, you'll be okay, but if you don't, things might go wrong. Now, the city that you found will still be great. It'll be great, but you'll never see it. Anyway, he probably brushed her aside, and the story goes that he came to Detroit, started a settlement. Some time later, he does happen upon this creature who taunts him. He might taunt back. It's unclear, but he drives the red dwarf away, and the dwarf curses him, of course, and he does end up dying penniless in France much later on. His fortune is gone. His, all of his esteem is gone. The settlement in Detroit, I guess, didn't do very well under him. So the Nain Rouge cursed Detroit from the very beginning and has shown up since at times of its misfortune.
So you guys buy into this? You guys believe it?
What, that guy made up his name? Yeah. You gonna call yourself Cadillac? I'm gonna change my name to Mike Escalade. That sounds.
That wouldn't fit on your T-shirt.
Wouldn't have the same panache.
You abbreviated. You had 20 names.
I love how you take out all the vowels, so you look like you're a Silicon
Shut up,
Valley
Seth.
startup.
Quiet you.
Something on the stock exchange.
I can get in touch with the Nain Rouge and mess your whole thing up. So watch out, buddy.
All right, so
He's one of your 16 siblings.
Yeah, it's one of them.
one of them. You're related
Who would
to
know?
him.
I mean, who would know?
All right, so this Sunday we've got the big march going on, and I asked him, what happens at the march, and here's what Francis said.
The Marche du Nain Rogue, it's the first Sunday in spring. This year it's March 25th. We start around noon with community stage, 5-minute sets of music, poetry. We have some flame performers. And then at 1, allegedly, the Nain Rouge will appear. And the Nain Rouge has some latest dastardly plan for Detroit's misfortune. Then the parade itself starts as we follow the Nain Rouge down to the Masonic Temple, where he unveils the sort of master stroke, and then, Detroit rises up in positivity.
And here's one of the key things about the march is that when you show up, you've got to wear your own costume that you made. Mike has already...
He's already prepared. Are you just going to keep that on till Sunday?
I'm going to keep this on until... Matter of fact, the Nain Rouge would know better not to mess with me.
Right, because
So,
he can see...
You don't even
I'm
have to wear a
already-
mask. Like
Yeah,
he's-
I'm already...
yeah.
Well, Black Panther has his uniform. I have mine too. So
Yeah.
I understand.
Yes.
Well, here's what Francis said about the costumes that people wear.
We've actually worked with neighborhood groups to help them learn about costume making and how to, do sort of DIY costume themes. This year, I believe we're going to have a bunch of daffodils coming from Indian Village. 50 or so people dressed up in daffodil costume. The idea is that each daffodil will eventually represent one Detroiter, so that they're going to, I think, plant bulbs on Belle Isle representing all of the Detroiters. I think it's a great idea. So there's just some ideas for what you can do.
You should do that for your
That's
next...
awesome, man.
Yeah.
Pretty much anything goes.
Yeah.
You should do that for your next line of clothing. Daffodils, I think. I think that'd be a good look on you.
It's very fresh.
It is.
I'm a comedian, so I can call them Laffodils.
Love
Marketing genius. Marketing genius up in here.
All right, here's the thing about the parade, though, is that every year the Nain Rouge takes a different form. Right? And so I asked
Keeps
him
you
about...
guessing.
Yeah, you don't know what he looks like. He's a sneaky fellow, that little that little red dwarf there. So I asked him about some of the forms the Nain Rouge has taken in the past.
So we play with what is, the zeitgeist of the moment. Each year, the Nain Rouge takes on a different kind of countenance or figure. So it's been various. We've had the Nain Rouge dressed up as in George Bush's flight suit. Where it said mission accomplished, after the city had gone through bankruptcy the year before, he was running for emergency manager to get people excited about that. The Nain Rouge has come in kind of like a Mad Max style duster jacket when Mad Max was all the rage. Last year, the Nain Rouge came as a giant robot. This year, we're not really sure. The theme, though, I hear is fake news, so there may be something along those lines.
Any guesses?
Oh, boy, they're not really sure.
Yeah.
Oh, boy, I wonder what it could be.
Mark Zuckerberg?
Yes, that's it.
That's probably what it is. Cambridge Analytica?
Jeffrey, the giraffe, Toys R Us.
Oh, there you go.
Broke a lot of hearts.
Yeah.
Oh, that's-
Nobody else needs that costume anymore.
No.
So true. So true.
We're going to have the Nain giraffe. Is that it?
All right, the Marche du Nain Rogue is happening on Sunday, March 25th. That's at noon. Like I said, you can just go down to the corner of Cass and 2nd. If you want all the details, you can head over to the website, marchedunainrouge.com. Don't ask me to spell it. It's French. I don't know. Coming up in just a few minutes, we're going to take a look at what's going on with public transportation. We've got a public transportation advocate stopping by the podcast. Stick around.
This is the D.
Concert calendar.
Hey, Becky, what's going on with concerts?
I got you covered. Wednesday, March 21st, we got Drake Bell at the Loving Touch in Ferndale and the John Taylor Trio, a jazz group at Cliff Bell's.
I haven't been to Cliff Bell's yet.
Oh,
must.
It's just kind of a slice from the past
Is it
dinner
really?
club. Yeah, restored to how it originally looked in the 30s.
Oh, that's cool.
They have
Yeah.
great food, too.
I would love that.
I
Fun
love
night
food.
out. Take your girlfriend; she'll like it.
Yeah, she would.
Thursday, March 22nd, Scotty McCreery at the Fillmore. And we have, are you ready for this?
Yes.
The Dean Ween Group at the Majestic. Dean is half of the band Ween, along with his brother Gene Ween.
You've been practicing that, haven't you?
Do you blame me?
You like standing in front of the
The
mirror.
rain in Spain falls mainly. So wait a minute. Dean is half of the band Wayne.
Now he's on his own, but
Right.
he used to be in the band Ween with his brother Gene.
Yeah,
I wonder
Gene-
if he's sad, if he's a hollow Wayne.
Bum, bum, bum.
Well, he's by himself, so he's lean. He's
Keep
a lean
workshopping.
Is
Keep
lean.
workshopping.
Okay, moving right along. Saturday, March 24th, we have the Detroit Anarchy Punk Rock Festival
Oh, nice.
Nice.
at PJ's Lager House.
Boy.
And speaking of Nain Rouge, here's an interesting tie-in. The Lucid Furs at Smalls Hamtramck. They're billed as Detroit's only freak rock show. So they are performing on the eve of the Nain Rouge Parade. They feel instead of banishing the Nain that we should welcome him as a sign of strength.
He's misunderstood.
Right.
Right.
They're on his side and they want him to come on in as a sign of our, resilience.
People like this really exist.
Yeah, like Satanists. Okay.
You can see their name, Lucid Furs.
Lucid Furs.
Right.
Is that like Dietrich Furs? Dietrich Furs. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
I just wanted to sing on this episode.
I love
that's
it. March 24th and 25th at the DIA, the Rackham Choir is presenting Voices of Light. It combines classic cinema, an 80-member choir, soloist, and a 30-piece orchestra.
That's a lot of people on stage, isn't it?
That's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's pretty impressive.
Nice.
Here's a big one, Sunday, March 25th, Pink with Bleachers, one of my favorite bands.
I love them.
I love
Where
them
would they-
too.
That's a
Where
spin-off
would they
group
be?
of Fun, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
The guy from Fun. Yep.
Yeah.
At LCA.
Oh, Hara?
No, the Little Caesars
No,
Arena.
it's at LCA.
Okay. Also pronounced Hara in French.
Hey, I've never seen Pink. Have you seen her live?
I haven't, but I heard she's incredible.
Yeah, Jag was saying that earlier tonight. He actually said best show he's ever seen, best live show, which is amazing.
I don't know how many shows he's seen, but
he's in the music industry.
Yeah, so I would think
he's
a
seen
lot.
His fair share.
And he
Rugrats
said
live.
she's singing her heart out while doing Cirque du Soleil stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I do love Pink.
That's correct.
She's amazing.
So Monday, March 26th, we have Eden with Verite at the Shelter. On Tuesday, March 27th, not just that Tuesday, but every Tuesday, Dennis Coffey shows up. Do you guys know
nice.
Dennis?
Yes.
I don't. Who's Dennis Coffey?
Motown funk brother. This guy is a legend, a session guitarist on so many huge hits, soul, funk, Motown hits.
Nice.
So now he's got his band, and he plays at the Northern Lights Lounge on Tuesdays. Wednesday, March 28th, Lorde is coming to LCA.
I love her. She's awesome.
She's great. And guess who's opening for her?
Who?
Run the Jewels.
RTJ. I say we should go.
It's an interesting combo.
Yeah, it is. It is. Wow.
Yeah.
That
I would
says
pay
something,
money
though.
for
You know, when you are a big superstar, who you take as your opening act says
does say a lot about
your musical
Yeah.
taste.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a cool choice.
It's legit. So a little music news. There's an open house at DIME. Stands for Detroit Institute of Music Education.
Yeah, you did a comedy show there a while
Yes,
back.
I did.
It's a
Beautiful
awesome
place.
place.
We filmed a podcast, we recorded a podcast episode of our last podcast when we were doing one around the Detroiters, Mike and I,
Oh.
up on, what was like the 6th floor
Yes.
of Dime.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
But I've toured that space. It is
Yeah,
really cool.
we've taken student groups there. My boys have both done funk camps there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in the summer. And these kids, wow, they take them through a week, and you'd swear they were professionals up on that stage.
Wow.
So that's on Saturday, March 24th.
So this is an open house.
It's an open house to go check it out if you have musicians that are thinking about going there.
This is a good place. If you want to be a musician, you want to get trained, this is a...
And you know who's a teacher there is Mahogany Jones.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
So some tickets for concerts that are on sale now, just to give you the heads up. Paramore and Foster the People, June 29th at DTE. Also on sale, Willie Nelson's Outlaw Music Festival, which is coming up June 24th at DTE. Both of those are on sale now. Another little interesting Detroit tidbit, Eminem was at the iHeartRadio Music Awards last Sunday. Did any of you guys see that?
No, I didn't.
I didn't see it personally, but I heard later he slammed the NRA with one of his freestyles. And the last line of his freestyle was, "They love their guns more than our children."
He's getting political. I mean, he's getting very political lately.
Very,
Which, damn it, somebody's gotta.
Right.
I mean, this is usually what musicians do. This was what rock acts did for a long
Sure.
time, and even hip-hop acts. And it feels like we're in such a politically charged age, and yet music doesn't seem to be there.
No, and that
Yeah.
was evidenced even by the Grammys. There just wasn't a whole
Right.
lot. Yeah.
I mean, you take the Grammys even versus what we've seen in Hollywood with the movies. The movies are
so
way more
diminished.
political.
Yeah.
And
So it's
Eminem's
interesting.
kind of the only guy out there talking about politics. All right, coming up in just a few, we're going to take a look at these stage plays happening around town.
This is the D.
Detroit
This is the D.
Brave.
Hi, Mike, Becky. This is, of course, the Motor City. This is the place where cars are from.
I think they call it Motown.
I think they do. Yeah, they should start a record label and name it that.
Yeah.
What a great idea.
And I've always felt since getting here, you need a car to get
You need a
around
car.
this city. Like
Yeah.
it's difficult.
It's your lifeline to get places.
Yeah.
You need a car to get a car. That's how bad you need a car here.
And it's tough because not all the drivers. I think the drivers here. I have never been tailgated so much, the drivers
There's some
here are
aggression.
nasty.
There's some aggression.
But we've got a guy here who says there's a better way. He's
I think that's the
offering some-
problem. They're aggressive because they want a mass transit system.
Yes, they do.
Right.
And so we wanted to bring him on. Dave Gifford, who is a public transportation advocate. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
So let's start there. What is a public transportation advocate? What do you do?
Basically, I have a full-time job, but in my spare time, I blog, I promote on Facebook and Twitter, just ways that you can use public transit to get around in the city.
And so I take it that you can. I mean, this is a city that, how difficult is it to get around from point A to point B?
It is a different, I wouldn't say it's a better way to get around. It's definitely, it's a slower lifestyle. You have to wait on the bus. You have to know the schedules. because of our grid system, you can't just go from point A to B like the highways cut through on angles. But because of our grid system, you have to go one way, transfer to go another way, get on a different bus. So it definitely takes longer.
How did you get into this? I mean, how does a person become... hey, I want to champion public transportation.
It is a weird thing because I'm originally from Macomb County. I grew up loving cars from the 50s and 60s, you know, just seeing those in old car magazines and the Woodward Dream Cruise. I go to that every year. I've had a couple old cars myself.
So you're not anti-car?
I'm not anti-car, no. In a situation like I recently found myself in, we have a lease vehicle, and our used car, you know, I think everyone kind of banks on their used car being able to sell it on Craigslist or something to try to get a little extra money to put that down payment on something else. But with young family at home, I'm the only person working right now. My only option would be to drain my bank account for another used car, which is a gamble because, you know, when you're trying to buy something around $3,000 to $4,000, that could be, you know, a pile of junk. You never know. You never know what you're getting into. So looking into transit options for people like that, and I consider myself lucky to have a decent job, and I know there's a lot of people that don't necessarily make a whole lot of money, and when they're in that situation where they need a car to get a job, they don't necessarily have another good option to get to work.
So true.
So let's walk through the different options that people may not know. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't know. I'm not from Detroit originally. I came here with a car, and anytime, you know, like when we go out to do open mics for comedies, I always punch everything into my Google Maps and I get it there.
Get in and go.
Sure.
I couldn't imagine it. And I work with a gentleman that would always take the bus from his home. He used to come in from Southfield out to Sterling Heights, and the bus stop is right in front of our building. And I would like, what's wrong with you, man? Who takes a bus? But every now and then he was used to it. Living in Detroit, he would just jump on a bus and go to work or come to work. I would never do that. It just wouldn't.
It's definitely a mindset or a habit. I used to take the bus a long time ago on Fort Street, and it's a cast of characters on the bus. It was an interesting experience, but you know what? I read the paper, or this was before smartphones, but I just didn't have to deal with the stress of driving. But then you're either in the habit or you're not. And if you're not, of course, you just jump in your car. So,
what is the reaction that you get from Detroiters? I mean, is this an uphill battle, being a...
No, it certainly is, especially in this region. I think most people think black and white on everything. They either think, I can only listen to one kind of music, or I can only be into one style of this or that. Same thing with cars and transportation. They think, I can only be a car driver. I can't be a car driver and a bus driver and a bus rider. Mm-hmm. People don't have that multimodal mentality. They think, I'm going to walk or run or ride a bike for fun, but not for anything serious. Same thing with a bus. So my angle was to try to promote the bus for fun, to get people in the mindset of thinking bus for certain things like going to Detroit for a game and not having to worry about parking, or if you have a few too many drinks, just hop on the bus and get home.
I do that now. There are nights where I go, is this an Uber night, or is this a drive and park night? You know what I mean?
It's a Uber night, right?
Well, but it depends on if there's a game, a sporting game going downtown, and we're going to do something downtown, and you might go, look, I don't want to deal with the traffic,
yeah.
You know? Yeah. Or sometimes it's we're going to drink a lot tonight.
Cocktail tasting, yeah.
So, and I've got nothing against Uber. I think it's a great service that came on the scene. It certainly competes with transit. They're always trying to come up with new ways. And Uber has a commuter package now or app where you can actually it'll go on certain routes and you can carpool with different people. A lot of different apps now. Waze, if you've ever used Waze to get around, they have a carpool function. So a lot of apps are doing carpooling now. So it is a way of competing with public transit, but it's also a complement. A lot of these services are complimentary. People don't think about, I can just take this so far. I think that's one of the misconceptions with autonomous cars. Everyone thinks I'm going to hop in at my house and take it all the way down to wherever. Well, it might just be a short ride from your house to a transit stop. Right. And then from that transit stop to your destination.
To that point about, mindset changing, I was at CES this year in Las Vegas, and one thing that was really clear is that there were a lot of companies that were aimed at urban commuters and looking at them very differently than rural commuters. Like if you're out in the middle of the country, in the middle of nowhere, you're going to need a car to get around. But if you're in a city where it's getting increasingly crowded, there may be other ways, whether it's electric bikes, whether it's ride sharing, whether it's car sharing, which is a separate thing from ride sharing. There's all these different things. So can we walk through some of these? Let's walk through some of the options that are going, starting with buses.
Sure.
What's going on with buses in Detroit?
So right now there's still DDOT, there's still SMART. DDOT does not go outside of Detroit except at the old Northland Mall Center there in Southfield, and that's a major transfer hub for DDOT to SMART. SMART Bus has a new program called FAST, which stands for Frequent, Affordable, Safe Transit, and that is kind of a regional service. They used to have, they still do actually, their SMART service runs to Detroit at peak hours, so if you go to work between 6 and 8 and come home between 5 and 7, you can hop on a SMART bus on certain routes. But these ones actually go all day. So they're 7 days a week. They run all day, every 15 minutes, every 30 minutes past 10 p.m. The Gratiot bus starts in Chesterfield at 23 in Gratiot. You can actually park at the Meijer there. It stops in Mount Clemens, and then every mile road down to 8 Mile, and then a few stops in Detroit. So that'll get you to the Stadium District, Eastern Market, downtown Detroit. They all circle around Learned and Jefferson there by Woodward. So you can get off there and transfer to another fast bus, or you can transfer to DDOT buses right there.
What is the state of buses and bus travel? Are you satisfied with where it is? Is there room to grow?
There's certainly room to grow. It's such a huge region that it's hard to cover everywhere and to serve everyone. But one of the biggest problems Detroiters face, I don't know the exact statistic, but more than half of Detroiters work outside of the city. And for them to work outside of the city, they have to transfer systems. And if you miss your bus at the transfer point, you've got to wait another half hour for your next bus. And depending on the weather and the shelter conditions there, it could not be a good scene.
So what's the solution?
The solution would be to have a regional transit authority that could actually get the money from the government, raise the money from taxpayers, and funnel that money into the transit system.
So explain that in a little bit more detail for people who may not be familiar. Is this something that they have in other regions, and Detroit is different, or?
Certainly. Chicago, New York, other major cities that have transit systems have an authority that looks over their entire, all their transit systems. And they are the ones who collect and disperse all the money and come up with the budgets for their systems. Here in Detroit, we have DDOT, SMART, Q-Line, to name 3, and then the People Mover, which is another system. All 4 of them are separate organizations. They have separate websites. They have separate pension funds. I mean, it's all separate.
They don't talk to each other?
No.
Not really.
Gotcha.
So that's why we need his blog to go on there and figure out how to get
right, how you go from
how to
one
link. Yeah,
to
so
the
there's
other.
clearly this education piece of how do I figure all this out?
Mm-hmm.
How well informed is the public, do you think, about transportation here in the area?
Not very, because most of us think cars first. If we're going to go somewhere, whether it's down the street to the grocery store or the party store or across town, the first thing we think of is car.
Or get your mail at the end of the driveway. That's what I do.
You take a car
I
to get
drive from my front.
Well, he lives in a
I
mansion.
mean, it's there. I pay for it.
How long is your driveway?
It's like 20 feet, but does that matter? I pay for it,
All right, Dave, stick around for a few minutes, because there's a lot of things I want to ask you about. I want to ask you about these Amazon headquarters. We want to talk about the Q line. I want to talk to you about bike sharing. Will you hang out for a few minutes?
Sure, yeah, no problem.
This is the Deep Brief.
On stage.
All right, Becky, let's take a quick look at what's happening in the theaters around town.
Okay, Fisher Theater, we've got One Harlem Night just this weekend, March 23rd through the 25th. At the Meadowbrook Theater in Rochester, a new production, The Snow Geese, opens this week. At Michigan Opera Theater, we have the Dance Theater of Harlem, Saturday and Sunday, March 24th and 25th. At the Tipping Point Theater in Northville, a new show opens this week called Ripcord, a dangerously funny battle of wills. Stage Crafters is continuing with Steel Magnolias. Wayne State's Hillberry Theater is continuing with Stupid Effing Bird. And at the Music Hall Jazz Cafe, we've got the Puppet Art Theater, Banana for Turtle.
All right.
Stupid effing bird.
I know it.
I'm so there.
You gotta go.
It took him a second, didn't it?
I'm buying a row of tickets.
Take all your friends. On Friday, March 23rd, there's a cool opportunity to get inside the Masonic Temple and take a tour.
I've done this. I
Yeah,
did this
I
about
have
a month
too.
ago. Yeah, it's amazing.
They've been offering them more often now, and it's just such an incredible building.
And those tours sell out. You got to
They
get
do,
tickets.
yeah. So go get your tickets online for that.
But have you been there? Because they do.
No, sir.
There's like some insane number of rooms in that building.
Oh, yeah. It was the largest Masonic temple in the world.
Yeah. And they've got a huge, what does it seat? 5,000, 6,000 people. That theater seating in
Oh
there.
yeah, 4,500. I think.
Okay, and there's not a bad seat in the house. Like,
No,
you can
it's a
see
great place to
no
see a show.
Pillars that are blocking views. or
Huge
anything.
stage, one of the biggest stages.
And then
in the
above it,
country.
right on the floor above it, is where the roller derby, Detroit roller derby
Correct.
plays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I've been to the Masonic. I just haven't been through the whole.
Oh, they tell you
Yeah.
all the secrets and they show you all the stuff and
So many nooks and crannies. It's neat.
yeah.
Like the catacombs.
Yes.
Right.
You didn't think I knew that, did you?
Good. One more thing to tell you.
Go get Mike a treat from the cupboard.
I know. He'll like this one. Listen up, Mike. He'll like this one.
Okay, I want a Scooby snack, but yes.
I think you need to
please.
go to this. So Dan Savage is coming to the Royal Oak Music
Love
Theater.
Dan Savage.
Yeah.
Sunday, March 25th. He presents Savage Love Live.
This is the sex advice, love
Exactly.
advice
So it's
guy.
like this interactive discussion prompted by the audience on sex, love, relationships, and he's just going to chat about all those taboo things.
Yeah.
Well, he's coming here specifically because I kind of, I'll confess, I kind of Cyrano to Bergerac that whole situation. So I tell him what to say to the audience members.
Oh, really? He's your
'Cause you're-
puppet.
Because I am a guru.
You're the expert.
Right.
The
I
sex
love
expert.
sex expert. Yes.
You're the sex expert
Oh,
whisperer.
You're the
Yes.
sexpert.
Yes. There you go. I'm a sex expert. I could go, that's a boy. That's a girl. Those are the two sexes. Boom. I'm out. Mic drop.
All right. Let's get back to public transportation.
Let's.
This is the Debrief,
Want more?
your guide to Detroit's arts and entertainment scene.
Go to the debriefdetroit.com.
All right, we're here with Dave Gifford. He is a public transportation. What is the preferred term? Activist, enthusiast,
I'd say advocate.
advocate?
I like advocate.
Okay,
I like
that.
that, too.
It sounds. You get T-shirts made up that
Sounds
say
very
that. or-
Supermanish. Very
Right.
superhero. Advocate, man. No, I'm just kidding.
So we've been talking about public transportation. We've been talking about the state of it here, and I think a lot of people think public transportation. They think buses.
Sure.
But what are some of the other modes of transportation around that would fall under the heading of public transportation?
Really, even cars fall under public transportation because they are private, but now you have car sharing like Maven, you've got Uber, you've got Lyft, you've got other groups coming on the scene like Split. They are a...
Who's that? What's Split?
Split is actually, they're from Detroit. They were actually just bought by Bosch in Germany. A lot of companies are starting to buy up other companies and partnering together for technology purposes and to kind of get a share in the market. There's a bunch of different commuting apps out there right now for what's the word I'm looking for? Carpooling.
Oh.
Everything from Waze to Split, like I said, even Lyft and Uber are getting into carpooling.
Well, even that's interesting because here, I don't know very many people that carpool.
No, you look around, you see
No.
one person.
And
in the
one
car.
person in the car,
Yeah.
and that drives me nuts.
I think it's just such a mindset of what's convenient, So you think, oh, I got to go 10 minutes out of my way to pick up my friend. Of course you would do that, but
Or they want
we're
to
just-
rock out to their own music
or
and stuff. and it's
something,
like,
but we're just not in that mindset. It's,
I didn't even think about it. What's the carpool lane situation here?
There is no.
What?
There
There
isn't.
isn't.
It's not.
No.
There's no incentive.
It would be an empty
There's
lane.
no incentive.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
And cars just sit there most of the time, right? It's like our most
Yeah.
underutilized asset.
Yep.
So it's really beneficial to not have your car just sitting around.
And I think about that when people complain about empty buses. They see empty buses riding around. They think, oh, they're half full, they're a quarter full. I think, well, your car's a quarter full.
Exactly.
If you're the one person driving it.
And it's sitting in a garage all day
Yeah. Or sitting in a
downtown or
parking lot,
something.
taking
Yeah.
up space.
I mean, even with a family, I spend probably 98% of my time in my car by myself.
Right.
And I have a family. It's just that's how it works out.
And that's one of the things that cars solved was getting people out from where they were to other places easily. But the problem it created was that people could live where they wanted and work where they wanted.
Right.
You don't have to live near your work anymore and walk to work or take a trolley like they used to back in the day. So now we have people crisscrossing all over, everywhere. Jobs and factories aren't confined to rail or by the water because
Right.
that's where they used to get their shipments.
Sure.
And now we have semi-trucks everywhere so that the factory can be wherever, the person can live wherever, and typically it's where they can afford. So you've got people just driving all over town. So there's really no way to link them up short of technology like these apps are developing so people can actually go online, say, oh, look, there's someone down the block and they're going my way and I can give them a ride.
I'm going to look into that.
Yeah.
Can you talk about public transportation, especially as it relates to class,
Sure.
and what the issues are there?
There's a big. I know it happens in other cities, but it seems like really prominently in Detroit that there's the thought of if you're a transit rider, you don't have money, you might be a criminal. I mean, there's this whole mindset of the car driver. They're in their little safety bubble. They're scared of the public, basically. That's why I'm kind of wondering if this ride share kind of commuting thing will actually work. Because if you've ridden the bus, there's some crazy people out there.
Sure.
I was going to go from Ferndale to Detroit and take the Reflex bus last year, and I didn't know the etiquette of, should have headphones in and don't make eye contact. So this was kind of my mistake. A guy comes out from around the corner with no shirt on, no shoes, and he walks up to the bus stop. And of course I'm looking at him and make eye contact and proceed to, I couldn't shake him off for about a half hour because I'm waiting for the
your
bus.
BFF. Yep.
Oh yeah. And just telling me all kinds of crazy stories and was...
I'm sorry, man. It was hot outside, and I lost my shoes in a gambling thing. So,
he had stories.
Yeah,
but
I apologize.
But the thing we see when we're driving our cars, if you happen to see a bus stop while you're in the suburbs, typically you don't see people wearing a shirt and tie. You might see them sitting on an overturned grocery cart because there's not a bench there for people to sit on, and it doesn't portray the image of affluence or just your regular person just trying to get from point A to point B.
Right.
Yeah, that's one of the crazy things, because back in the day, in the 80s, they used to have the shelters at the bus stops.
Right.
The benches and the little enclosed area, and I don't see those anywhere.
Smart Bus has been investing in that in the suburbs. They're actually installing new glass shelters with solar panels and little LED lights in them for nighttime to kind of give people some light in there. So if there's a lot of, they can actually analyze the stops and how many people are getting off and on there. And if it's a heavily used stop, they'll usually put up a shelter if it's requested.
Where are decisions like that being made? Like at what level, and does it change with different administrations or legislatures?
As far as like bus stops and
yeah, like all that stuff, all that infrastructure investment.
A lot of that comes from, like, SMART is funded by millages right now, and Macomb County, actually the entire county opts in, but they haven't built new bus lines in a while. So as people move further out, companies and businesses move further out, the buses don't move further out with them to match that.
Okay.
In Oakland County, they allow what they call opt-out communities. So communities like Rochester Hills, further out in Oakland County, around the middle, and Novi, places like that, they actually opt out of SMART service. So they don't pay the millage, they don't get the service.
Right.
Why?
They have money, and everyone there has cars, and they probably, like you said,
they don't need it.
We don't need that.
It's a symbol of affluence or non-affluence.
Is that evolving or changing as you start to see the renovation of downtown, and as you start to see downtown Detroit and midtown Detroit especially becoming a destination that people want to come to?
It is a little bit, but whenever you see a new building going up, you'll immediately read providing such and such number of parking spaces or underground parking or surface level or parking lot, garage with that new development. Parking's still very prominent. There's a thing called parking and zoning for minimum parking, where they base your square foot of your building has to have X number of parking spaces. In major cities, they weren't actually built for cars. They were built for people and horses and things like that. You'd have a place where all the horses would go and people would walk. And then when they had trolleys, you'd take that. So they didn't have big parking garages or big surface level parking lots. And you can see the effect that's had on downtown Detroit. It's decimated at least half of downtown is devoted to parking lots.
And is there enough parking downtown, even with all that parking?
There's about 65,000 parking spaces in downtown.
Wow.
Throughout the 2 square miles of downtown there. But people want to park right next to where they're going. They have that mentality. We're so used to doing, you pull up the Walgreens, you walk right in. You go to the supermarket, you want to park as close as you can, which doesn't make sense because a lot of people that are so exercise crazy, they're on the treadmill for an hour and then they want to park real close and walk right in.
Right next to the building.
You think
Again, I apologize because I like to park close to my buildings. So.
I get it. I do too.
No, I'm just...
That's what you're used to. But you go to another big city and you wouldn't expect that. You don't expect to drive through New York and park next to the building you're going to. So.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
There was, of course, the big play to get the Amazon headquarters here, and we lost out. And I've heard rumors that one of the reasons we may have lost out may be the transportation situation. Did you follow that closely, and do you think that was a factor?
I certainly do think it was a factor. They wanted to add 50,000 jobs to Detroit to downtown. And if you think about that, would be like all of the Red Wings and Comerica Park all having an event at the same time. And imagine all those people coming in and going out. Because the housing stock isn't there in Detroit yet for 50,000 more people.
Right.
It's as tight as it is. They're building as fast as they can, but it's not quite there yet. So these professionals that would come into these jobs would probably be living further out, Oakland County, Macomb County, even other areas, and commuting in. Now, you know how bad that would be on the highways. So transit is a good thing for that because they would be able to get in faster and not have to deal with that commute.
Right.
Or potholes.
Yeah.
Potholes.
Yeah.
Potholes would get even worse.
In all seriousness, is potholes a factor? Does it play into the public transportation story?
Oh, certainly. One bus can hold up to 60 people or more. I mean, if you really cram them in, and that's 60 cars off the road, the bus will take all those hits and not your car. I think a lot of people, they feel helpless if they get stranded because they have a flat tire or blown out on their cars in the shop. They think, oh, I don't know how I'm going to get to work now. You know, they don't even think to look into other transit options.
Right.
I had to take an Uber to work recently. My work's about 27 miles away. That was about a $47 drive.
Yeah, it's expensive. You
Yeah,
can't
you
sustain
definitely couldn't
Uber.
do that every
no,
day. No.
no.
So, and for people that think that autonomous cars will be the answer for that, I don't necessarily see them being cheaper. I don't think it's going to be a $2 ride in an autonomous car. I think it's still going to cost money. So you're still going to leave out a whole group of people that won't be able to use this new service.
Right. And then what about the bike sharing?
Bike sharing, Mogo, started last year in Detroit. It's already surpassed the numbers they thought they were going to reach. I don't know if you guys know too much about how it works.
No.
No.
What's a bike?
It's not real friendly for
I have a car,
commuting.
man, is all I'm saying.
So spandex is not required to ride these.
No.
They're not the skinny tire little bikes with the curly handlebars and all that. They're not the one-speed fixed bicycles like the hipsters are riding.
Right.
These are, I think they're sponsored with, is it Henry Ford Healthcare that is sponsoring these?
think-
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so they have probably about 30 stations set up all throughout Detroit, and you pay $8, and it's for 30-minute rides. Now, that doesn't sound like bicycle rental, like you're going to go tool around in downtown all day. So the whole point of that was to kind of take up a gap where if you had to get from point A to point B real quick and you couldn't find a bus, you don't try to park there, you could just hop on the bike, boom, you're there, park it at the next station, and then away you go. And that $8 is good for 24 hours.
Oh.
Unlimited rides. See, as long
So
as you
unlimited rides.
each one is 30 minutes.
You know what surprised me was that they were keeping these out all winter.
Yep. And they were promoting ridership. They actually had winter bikes that if you found one, took a photo with it, you could get a prize or something like that.
Oh,
So they had these bikes are all red, so they had some blue ones out there here and there. And they promote riding year round.
And then the queue line, which there's a lot of excitement about, but at the same time, there's a lot of people who goes, it just goes in a straight line.
And it takes a long time
Yeah.
to go in those miles.
So what's your assessment of the queue line so far?
A lot of people called it like People Mover 2.0, things like that. The Free Press did a funny segment where they had a car, a bicycle, someone on foot, and a bus, and they all tried to race the queue line to see who could get down the stretch faster. And they all had different experiences. So the queue line didn't necessarily live up to the hype.
Wait, who won?
You just can't leave us hanging like that, man.
I believe it was the person in the car that won. A guy drove a Mustang.
Wow.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
So, of course.
Yeah. There are no potholes over there either, so.
So, yeah, they did the queue line was good for a lot of things. One thing it did was it redid the entire stretch of Woodward between Grand Boulevard and downtown Detroit. They took it up from business to business, the sidewalks, the street, everything. They put new infrastructure in underneath, new internet wire, new electrical services, things like that. So that was a great tool for rebuilding that stretch of Woodward that's been kind of spotty for a long time. I've been going downtown for 20 years. I've played in bands, gone to shows down there, and typically you would drive to like the Magic Stick. You could drive downtown to St. Andrews Hall, and that was your one destination, and then you were gone. You go back home.
For sure.
Now with the Q line, there's new streetlights all the way up and down. There's businesses popping up. I think they said like $7 million in investment down there.
Wow.
Since even
Yeah.
before it was built was coming. These things were all in the pipeline. So now you can hop on the Q line, and you can, I think it's $1.50 for 3 hours and $3 for the whole day. So from there you can hop on, hop off. You can go to the DIA. You can go to a lot of places. That's actually what inspired me to write my blog, because you might only see what you've seen from your windows of your car, or if you're going down the queue line, you're only going to see what you see on Woodward. There are so many things. I think I counted over 100 different businesses and restaurants, bars, and things to go to within that 3-mile stretch. So I think it's a little more than a People Mover 2.0 because the People Mover, there's quite a few places around now, especially more since it opened up. But there's a ton of places to go on the Q line. So I wrote a blog about that to try to get the word out so people would look into things. Oh, wow, I can go here, and then I can catch a movie over at the DIA Film Theater, and I can go get a nightcap afterward. And then I can go back to the parking garage and drive home or wherever.
I can't believe you know all this, and this isn't your full-time job.
Exactly, right. Yeah, what a passionate side project.
So make a prediction. Like, are you optimistic about the future? Where do you think public transportation in Detroit's going to be in 5 years?
Hoverboards? No?
You never know. You never know on that. I think the future is definitely moving towards more multimodal methods of getting around. The Q line was a great conversation piece for getting people to think beyond their cars. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the Q line gets stuck behind a parked car, or there might be a car accident or something, and so people look at that and go, well, how else can I get around? Oh, look, there's 3 buses that just went by. Maybe I'll hop on one of those. So as far as the future goes, I think we've had a lot more things in the conversation as far as getting out of your car and getting into something else. I just saw the other day that SimCog actually has a web page now. SimCog is the Southeastern Michigan Government's council, and they actually have an app now for commuting and ride sharing and things like that too. So all these different groups are getting into getting out of your car, getting you into other services. As far as like a regional transit authority goes, it's anyone's guess until possibly the current regime changes, and there's kind of a shift in the mentality of this is good for the entire region, not just for the city of Detroit.
When you say current regime, who's making decisions that are affecting that?
We were headed in 2016. The vote did not pass for an RTA plan, which would be a millage that would tax homeowners on the value of the property, and that would raise money to be matched by government funds to help oversee the entire region, to create one fare card pass that would be good for DDOT and SMART and Q-Line and all these different systems. And in Ann Arbor's RIDE, their bus system out there, it would have funded 5 different airport buses from the suburbs directly to the airport, commuter lines on the highways actually, and a commuter rail between Ann Arbor and downtown Detroit. So this didn't pass in 2016. It may not have been sold very well, and a lot of people that are homeowners didn't like the idea of being taxed for a service they weren't going to use or that wouldn't reach them. I was hoping they'd come back this year with a better plan that would either meet those people further out or shrink the taxable area to the footprint that they were actually proposing. Like I said, it didn't pass in 2016. They were trying to get a vote on the ballot for 2018. And in the last month, the executive commissioner for Oakland County, Brooks Patterson, came out at a meeting of a State of the County address and said, not going to happen on my watch. I'm not going to let this happen. We're not going to get taxed. And the next week, Mark Hackle followed suit. He's the executive for Macomb County. So we need to concentrate on our roads. They're in horrible shape. So the two of them basically pulled out support, and that doesn't look good for a 4-county vote.
Right.
So
if I do the math, I think that's 50%.
I think so. Yeah.
All right. So if we want to follow this issue, and if we want to follow your writing in particular, how can we do that?
I have a blog that's on Medium. It's medium.com/@DEGIFF. On there, I blog about the Smart Bus and all the routes that they have on there, and an easy way to see all the routes, a way to take public transit to all the different breweries in Detroit, a guide for taking...
I'm in that. We got to take him out.
All the important stuff.
Oh, you bet.
We've got some beers we've got to turn Mike on to.
Zero right in on that field trip. Yep.
From Jefferson to Corktown to Founders Brewery and all those, you can actually ride a bus to get to all those. And
you're going to be carrying me on the bus,
yes,
just so you know.
Absolutely.
And I even did a blog on there about how to reach all the movie theaters in Southeast Michigan.
Oh, nice.
Oh, cool.
So there's maybe a handful that you can't reach by transit. Some require maybe about a mile walk from the last point, but a lot of them are actually accessible by transit.
All right, cool. We'll check it out. Well, Dave Gifford, this is the first time I've ever met a public transportation advocate, and this was fascinating. Like the stats that you're rattling off at your fingertips, it's pretty amazing. So. Thank you very much.
I try to do a lot of research for my blogs and make sure that what I'm saying adds up and that it's actually based on things that I find they're factual, so people have the best information.
Now we can trust it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, sir. We'll be
Wonderful.
watching.
Yes,
thanks.
thank you.
This is the D.
Detroit.
This is the debrief.
Another week, another show.
We are fantastic together.
Wow.
I just want you guys to know that.
Do we have a new name yet?
I don't know, but whatever it is, I want to put it all over my
All
clothes,
on a
too.
shirt. Like a bodysuit, a whole thing.
Listen, people out there in podcast listening world, I am very sharp and they are jealous of me. That's all it is. I am tagged out with my own gear.
You're lucky they can't see us.
I'll take a picture for you. I don't care.
I have
But
a very nice outfit on tonight.
You do. You look lovely. I'm
And
not saying
Seth,
anything nice about you, Seth. You've been messing with me all.
Seth, you're so sweet.
Aw, thanks. I've got a nice personality. All right, let's say thank you to our guest, David Gifford, a public transportation advocate. I had never met a public transportation
Me
advocate
neither.
before.
It was fascinating.
That guy knows his stuff.
Yeah, he's really
I mean,
knowledgeable.
and no joke, and he does not do this for a day job. He just, like, this is what
That's
he loves and
dedication.
he's passionate about. Also, Francis Grunow, who's the producer of the Marche du Nain Rogue. Go check it out this weekend. It's happening on Sunday. And Barry Cogan, who is from the Ford Piquette Avenue Plant Museum. Absolutely go check that out, especially if you're into cars.
Yeah, I'm going to head down there.
Yeah.
I mean, rare.
It's
yeah.
cool. Also, thank you to Jag and our intern, Spencer. Mike, you got some shows going on this weekend.
I have a plenty. I'm actually at the Eastern Michigan University, the Laugh Lounge, this Thursday at 9 o'clock with two of the other guys from Heart of the City that we had on.
Oh, yeah, the Kevin Hart
Jay Bell
thing.
and Boogie Williams. All three will be there. Come check us out. Also, on Friday, I'll be at O'Mara's in Berkeley. I'll be featuring there, doing a little bit there, so you can come check that out. And then I'm down in Flat Rock on Saturday, headlining a show for athletic boosters.
Nice. And Becky, you, of course, you're doing tours all the time,
Yeah,
right?
Feet on the Street tours. I got to tell you, usually I would tell you what's coming up this weekend, but I can't do that anymore because we're selling out so fast. So,
Really?
Yeah, because everybody gets spring fever and, wants to go on
It's
the
because
Go
you
out there
came
and
on
put
the
their feet on the
podcast.
street. Yes.
It's probably
It's
because of the
podcast,
promotions.
right?
Yeah.
Yes, that's
yeah.
what it is.
But like our April 14th Eastern Market tour is already sold out. So you got to go on
that's
enjoythed.com
dope.
and get some May, June, July tickets already.
You can buy them that far in advance.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I have them up for sale on the website through September.
All right, speaking of websites, our website is thedebriefdetroit.com. If you go there, join the email list, and then we will send you a list of everything that we talk about in the show so that you know everything that's going on in the upcoming week. Also, if you like this podcast, look, the highest compliment you can pay to us is to tell somebody. Go
Yes.
tell a friend, hey, I love this podcast.
Share,
you should
share,
go check
share.
it out. You know you got friends who are into the D, who are into the city's renaissance.
Yeah, at least one. And now that the weather's getting nicer, you can get outside. You want to listen to this.
Absolutely. And you can find this podcast wherever you find your favorite podcast. You can find it in Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, Spotify, the iHeartRadio app, TuneIn, Stitcher, wherever you find it.
A friend of mine was just so impressed with herself. She's found it on Spotify. So
Ooh.
everybody's
You're big time
I
now.
know.
Wherever you find it, do us a favor, subscribe and leave a review. That helps other people find the show. We also, if you like, we have a mobile app. So you can get all your episodes there.
That's how I listen to it.
It is?
Yes,
Is it-
it's my favorite way to listen.
Does it go off as your alarm and you wake up to the debrief in the morning?
Hey, the debrief. Hey, the debrief. That's how my alarm sounds.
If you put on events and you want us to know about them, you can send us an email. You can send the email to press@thedebriefdetroit.com. Just let us know what's going on, and maybe we'll mention it on the show. Until next week, guys.
It's a good one.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Have a good week.
The debrief.
Your guide to Detroit's arts and entertainment scene.